a franchisor, you're really not in the restaurant business anymore. And, a lot of founders of franchise companies understand that. But some folks that, don't have a franchise background, they might still think they're in the hotel business, for example, but they're really not. Especially if, 100% of your units are franchised and you don't have any corporate locations. I mean, you really truly are in the franchise business. So, again, on the advocacy side, if I could just back up a little bit, I mean, I have to give, again, granted I'm biased, but I really have to give Matt Haller, who heads up our government relations team, and his entire team, major kudos. They were instrumental in creating the Paycheck Protection Program. They worked very closely with Congress on the CARES Act, and they're currently working on the HEROES Act, though. Politics are politics, and it looks like nothing's going to happen. That could change over the weekend, but he was mentioning this morning that unfortunately it looks like it's tied up in quote unquote politics. But just so you all know that Matt and his team were directly instrumental in the PPP funds, and obviously it benefited franchising because we're selfish, that's all we care about, but it ultimately ended up benefiting non-franchise businesses too. So at the end of the day, that's you're as a member of IFA, and for those of you who are on the phone who are members, thank you very much. Because we can't do what we do without your financial support through your membership dollars. And just so you all know, we have different and varying membership fees. But if you're a startup and emerging brand, if you have less than 200 franchised units, you could join IFA for $1,650. And during the pandemic, I've been placing people on payment plans. Even our renewing members, I've been placing on payment plans and trying to work with everybody because, listen, there are some segments that during the pandemic are having a very tough time. And there are some verticals or segments that are doing extremely well right now. But one thing, we always like to say in franchising is when there's a downturn in the economy, unlike the perfect storm back during the Great Recession of the mid to late 2000s, right now, and it's very unfortunate that a lot of people find themselves out of work, but a lot of those people will not have those jobs to go back to, and we're starting to see a lot of those folks are looking towards franchising and owning their own business. So for franchise development, this is a wonderful time for franchise development. And of course, we only like to promote those folks that are members of IFA. So as a member of IFA, you're listed on our website, franchise.org. You get to exhibit at the franchise expos that are produced by MFE Expositions. And actually, MFE has the online expo coming up next week and through the end of the month. So October 15th through the 30th will be the online virtual expo. At the end of the day, it's all about getting eyeballs and leads to look at your franchise. So there's still opportunities to have a virtual booth at the expo. I would encourage you to either reach out to me or you could probably even get that information from Tom or contact MFE directly. But it's at the end of the day, listen, there's numerous ways to get leads, whether you use a broker, whether you're listed on a web portal or exhibiting at expos. But at the end of the day, all you need is one solid lead and get that one solid lead to close, and it kind of pays for itself. But the other thing that's very important in franchising is just continuing being educated or enhanced, as we call it. And that's the main thing we do at IFA. We have our certified franchise program. I like to refer to it as a master's degree in franchising. It's the CFE designation. Though I'm an association guy, I did get my CFE a few years ago because, I work in franchising. Whether it's taking our FranGuard course, which is our sales compliance course, which is mandatory to get your CFE. But there are a number of ways, online classes, obviously in person, but it's safe to say that anything in person probably is going to be virtual until Q3 of 2021. Obviously everything is subject to change, but that's my personal opinion. So obviously everybody's having to make changes and do things virtually. We're just coming off of our virtual marketing operations and development conference, which occurred this week. If anybody missed it, you could actually purchase the recording, whether it's the entire set or just the marketing piece, the operations piece, or the development piece. I know you can do that. But again, it's all about education and continuing your education, because you want to make sure that, it's all about best practices. You want to make sure that you're benchmarking yourself against either your direct competitors or your peers. Because as we all know, franchising is franchising. Whether you're switching out mufflers, flipping hamburgers, or trying to fill hotel beds, franchising is pretty much all the same. From my vantage point, I just see this year over year, and even currently, our members learn from one another. They share ideas with one another. We started hosting through our supplier board monthly workshops to help the supplier community, because they're having a tough time right now. And then obviously the franchisee community is, depending on the industry, they're having a very tough time. And of course, they were, most of the franchisees were all listening in on all of our webinars, all of the conference calls that our government relations team was having. We were helping direct them to our supplier members to help them, get the PPP funds. We were helping them regarding, directing them to the folks that could help them with lease negotiations. And this is all ongoing as well. So
and Paul,
within
Paul,
IFA,
hey, Paul,
the franchising community. Yeah, buddy.
Hey, sorry to interrupt. Just real quick, I just want to reiterate and emphasize a point that you were making there,
Yeah.
just about the webinars and the educational value that you when the whole pandemic hit and everything was going on. I mean, the quality of your presentations and knowledge base and information and experts, and I mean, there were the quality was incredible. The expertise. I mean, you had major CEOs from large brands that are IFA members that came on that, I don't know under normal conditions that they do, but I mean, we're talking major players in franchising and just really globally in business. And they were on giving their feedback, opinion, advice, what they'd been hearing. And so just as a member, I mean, I can tell you it was really impressive with everything that the IFA was doing then and continues to do, certainly. But just I appreciate that response as someone who is as a member, and just as someone who, look, we were all in the same boat together, and I just appreciate what you were able to offer and provide to just further help us out. So I appreciate that.
No, and thank you. And we're going to be doing it ongoing. Our conferences department just shared with me a number of webinars, and of course they always tap me to kind of host things. So I know we have. I don't know what the topics are. I didn't focus on that, but I know in the next 6 weeks we have, looks like a webinar almost a couple of times a week coming up. And it also ties into the election cycle as well, because we are, and our government relations team, again head by Matt Howler, we're just trying to stay on top of things, because obviously whenever there's a change, whether it's on the House side, the Senate side, or at the presidential level, believe me, we're always trying to stay 10 steps ahead of things. So. So again, Tom, yes, I mean, we heard and continue to hear from our members how valuable it's all about. Listen, it's all about communication, and that's what we did. I mean, early on in the pandemic, My direct boss, our Chief Revenue Officer, Jennifer Brandine, she and I sat down one night in late March, and a series of, gosh, 20 topics that we thought would be very important that our members wanted to hear about. And then we quickly rolled out a webinar series. And to your point, I mean, at one point we were doing 2 to 3 webinars a day, and it was even on specific verticals within franchising. And yeah, we had the heads of franchise companies, we had our thought leaders on the supplier side, we had franchisees involved, providing their thoughts, that they were experiencing, truly at the grass level. And it continues, and it continues to this day, and will continue, because at the end of the day, that's what an association does. It provides everybody, with the resources and also with the education that they need and the knowledge base that they need, so you could all continue to grow and thrive at what you do and what you do best. So, again, it's like any association, it's all about the government relations. And as we all know, franchising is heavily regulated. And also, I mean, our CEO, Robert Crescente, he was part of opening up, a task force, a White House task force on opening up America. And we had a number of our CEOs that we invited to sit on this task force. And I'll tell you, I mean, we, just from my perspective, it seems like, we have more access to this White House than we have to any other White House in the past. We have a very good relationship with Secretary Mnuchin. And listen, at the end of the day, that's how things operate in DC. We do have a very strong political action, a PAC, and because of that, we're able to donate to both sides of the aisle, and it helps us get access, and it helps us educate the members of Congress and the regulators on how powerful and beneficial franchising is to the economy. And listen, I'm not going to mince words. I mean, franchising has been directly affected by this pandemic. Franchisees are affected, franchisors, suppliers. One of our close supplier members, Frandata, we partnered up with them. We recently came out with some really good data on the effects of the pandemic and how it is affecting both jobs directly related to franchising, and just the revenue that franchise brings to the U.S. economy, and how beneficial PPP funds have been. Happy to share that with anybody. For those of you who haven't received it from IFA yet, if you're not an IFA member, and if you're not an IFA member, I'm still happy to share it with you. But yes, I mean, it is all about education, best practices, networking with your peers. People contact me on a daily, weekly basis. If people, want to benchmark certain things, if they want to know, how much PPP or PPE rather, people are spending, or their franchisees are spending, how much are they using, where are they getting it from? What's the price, the average price point? I'll reach out to our members, whether they're board members or other folks in specific, verticals, to get that information. So people, utilize me and my colleagues frequently for, to benchmark ideas that they might have, or if people, sit down and have, their Monday or Tuesday morning meetings. It always seems like historically it's always on Mondays or Tuesdays, because it seems like members always reach out to me on Tuesdays, with requests or questions, and it came up at a team meeting that they were having, and they were like, well, let's ask IFA and see if they could help us. So I mean, I do that all the time, And if I don't have the answer, I will usually get the answer. And and that's the wonderful thing about franchising. I mean, it's truly a relationship business. And I mean, every business is a relationship business, but franchising truly is. I mean, Tom, as you know, because we spare a amount of time, or we did, traveling around the country. I mean, I think, my wings are definitely going to be clipped for a while, but, we call it the franchise family. And, and there's a lot of value to that, right, Tom? A lot of value, because
Absolutely.
we could all share, we all have each other to kind of lean on. And that's what I've been telling people throughout the pandemic, is that we are here. We are here together. We are going to get through this together. And, and there's no reason to feel like, you're going to get through this alone. And there's plenty of people in the franchising community through IFA to help you out.
Yeah, no, and that's a great point, Paul. And one of the things that I've noticed through IFA members has been, it's interesting. You would never think, to your point earlier on, if you run let's say a restaurant or a retail business or a manufacturing company or a supply or distribution business or whatever, a home painting company, you
Exactly.
never
Yeah.
really, whatever kind of business you're in, and franchising, when you're selling franchises, kind of any franchise becomes your competitor. Even though
Exactly.
locally you don't compete for those same services, but you're all kind of competing for those same buyers of people who are looking to buy a franchise. And the thing that's been that I have noticed overwhelmingly, certainly there are exceptions, but overwhelmingly has been the camaraderie that you're describing, and the willingness to share, the willingness to provide and share best practices amongst other members. And it's just refreshing to see in the industry. So I appreciate that as a member. And when I see that and I am receiving that, it's kind of this upward spiral momentum. It makes me feel compelled to want to share as well with other members and to provide
Exactly.
extras. So it's kind of
100%.
this, yeah, this ongoing circle that just keeps going and going and going in a positive direction.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you 100%, my friend. And we see that day over day, week over week, month over month. It just happens all the time. Because yes, I mean, there's 300 different lines of business, over 100 different industries that franchise. And yes, there are obviously competitors within each vertical. But again, franchising is all the same, really. And people are always, the one thing I've always noticed, that people are always willing to give back to the people coming up the ladder behind them. I see it all the time. There are so many mentors in franchising, so many mentors. And one thing I also noticed, not that people, especially emerging or startup brands are, need to be looking for an exit strategy, but I'll tell you, I mean, people do use, IFA and the relationships that they build as an exit strategy. I mean, I'm seeing it more and more, especially during the pandemic. There's a lot of deals out there. There's a lot of acquisitions happening. And, whether it's, on the private equity side or some of these, these groups that are, tend to be, funded by private equity, but, there are folks out there that are acquiring brands. It always tends to be on the service side or on the the food restaurant side. But people like to utilize their contacts and connections through IFA, as an exit strategy too. I mean, I've seen it for years now.
Well, I was just gonna say, Paul, I have a couple clients that were connected, IFA members, and one very, very long established IFA member, very mature franchise brand, and non-food, non-retail type business. And just in kind of conversation mentioned, hey, there might be a connection here for you to connect with another brand that's maybe looking for a potential exit, maybe, kind of a deal. And I think I think they may end up doing some kind of a deal together for an exit strategy for
Excellent.
for
Yeah.
the smaller, brand that was looking for kind of that partner. And I think I don't know how the deal is going to get worked, but it's going to be something to exactly like what you're describing. And these are things that never hit the open market.
No,
No one ever knows about these. This doesn't ever hit. It's never public.
exactly.
It's just a couple connectors that make it happen. And you're connected to, thousands of people that you're connecting all the time. So, and you've connected me with many folks. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, and likewise, I can't thank you enough. You've always been a huge support over the years. Tom, can't thank you enough. You're always helping to promote IFA to your client base and just IFA in general. And I can't thank you enough for that. It's just I thank you, my friend. Can't
Well,
thank
you're
you enough.
welcome. You're welcome. Well, I know I've kind of interrupted your presentation. Do you have other
No, not at
pieces here?
all. No,
Do
no.
you have?
I mean, listen. At the end of the day, it always does come back to like where you and I were discussing before we kick things off. It really does come back to to advocacy and public policy. Because at the end of the day, we have a seasoned team of government relations professionals, and they're there day in and day out. Monitoring, bills that are being introduced, whether it's at the state or federal side, to make sure that, we're there to basically protect the business format franchise model. As a, by supporting IFA and helping us, financially through your membership dollars, or even by, donating to our PAC, Fran PAC, we're able to, again, protect franchising so you could continue to grow and thrive and not worry about it. So whether it's, the ongoing joint employer issue, which, in California, AB5, we continue to battle that. Or whether it's, other issues that we're dealing with, like the FASB issue, which is the Financial Accounting Standard Board. That's something that, we've been dealing with as well, which greatly affects those startup and emerging brands. But, that's been an ongoing educational effort. And
in regards to the FASB change, you were able to, help basically delay for a year, basically push it back. Franchising, the community at large is, kind of what's going to happen? What is this going to be? This whole new change. And then the pandemic and all, it was a huge, huge help. So I know you made that happen, bottom line.
Yeah, no, I mean, we were, and it's not, when I say we, I don't mean, listen, IFA is a membership organization. It belongs to the dues paying members. I mean, we're the stewards of the organization. That's what I like to say. We utilized our members, some of our supplier members, some of our franchisor members, CEOs. We had to educate the folks at FASB and continually educate them because, this was to me when I first heard about it and started to, and I still don't fully, understand it. I'm not an accounting guy, but it has some major has some major impact on franchising. But again, to your point, yeah, we were able to hold things off, and we will continue and do continue. We have an open dialogue with FASB, and with the support of our members, like we do with anything, we will continue to fight the fight.
Well, I appreciate it, Paul. I know we've got some folks tuned in here. Are there any questions for Paul that he might be able to answer or talk through or talk about in reference to the International Franchise Association, what it's doing, involved with, anything in that regard? We'll open it up here for a minute or two.
Thanks, Tom.
Mm-hmm.
And if there aren't any questions, that's fine. I don't know if Tom could provide you all with my email address, or if you want to, have folks reach out to me at any, by all means. You could also find me on the IFA website, franchise.org, under the staff listings. But listen, people people contact me all the time. So if you have a question now, happy to answer it. If not, reach out to me whenever. I'm always more than happy and willing to answer questions about anything at any time. So.
Paul, you mentioned that the pandemic has affected franchisors and franchisees. Do you have any metrics about what the decline in kind of growth has been?
Yes, I don't have those numbers in front of me, but earlier on I had referred to a recent study that was conducted by Fran Data and IFA. I will, if you shoot me an email, and I'll verbally give you my email address, I could get those metrics to you because they were pretty powerful. I was looking to see if I had the press release. I apologize. I cannot. No, I'm sorry. I don't have it on hand, but I could get that to you. My email, just so you all have it, is P for Paul. So it's P and then my last name, which is ROCCHIO@franchise.org. So PRocchio@franchise.org. Feel free to shoot me an email and I will get that information over to you. But yes, I mean, yes, franchising has been obviously, like all industries. And again, we're not an industry. There's so many different industries in franchising. Some have done better than others, but I will be able to share that information with you. But very, very good question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And were you asking about that in terms of just the impact to kind of revenue for the units, or just maybe franchise sales, or did you have a particular point there, part?
Based on kind of the momentum of franchise sales and the amount of interest that people have given the pandemic. Because reading in the paper today, they say that unemployment is going to kind of stay high and probably peak mid 2021, second, third quarter. So there's going to be, I see a lot of people being unemployed, and in some cases it creates opportunities. The other side of that is, franchise requires financing, and in situations like this, financing gets a little tighter. So there's one kind of push, and then there's one kind of pull. And I'm just curious as to where the growth on kind of number of new franchises rather than revenue is.
Well, number of new. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Go ahead, I was just going to say, this is an unintended plug for next week, but next Friday's session, next Friday's webinar, I'm hosting, and I'm talking about this exact topic, about what's going on with current franchise sales trends, reviewing all the data from franchise data, current sales data, economic data, from high level macroeconomic data down to small business, retail trends, and franchise trends. So I've been doing an update on the kind of the trends of that each, we're starting to do that monthly now. We did one in August, September. We have one coming up next week. So not to, it is kind of a plug. It's perfect timing. Thanks for planting that. But we did that update. And
actually sounds, I hope I'm free next Friday. I may have to listen in on that one.
Yeah. Yeah. But, and I know Paul has some great data.
I'm almost
here too.
Yeah. And yeah, because specifically on franchise sales, the info from Fran Data is more of a, at the macro level. Just the overall effects of the pandemic on franchising. I'm almost positive Fran Dev or new brands coming into the market. I know some of our other supplier members have some good sales information, sales data, whether it's current during the pandemic. I'd have to look into that. And Tom, I hope I'm free next week, because I may have to listen in on your webinar. Or do you record these webinars? Are they available on
yeah.
your website?
Yeah, we
Good,
record
good.
it. Yeah, we share it. Yeah, we publish it up on our YouTube channel and post it on our
Oh, good.
website. Yes.
Excellent. I can listen to it at 2 a.m.
There you go. That's great.
But good question. Thank you.
Well, great. Well, if there aren't any other questions here, Paul, I'd like to thank you for being here today. And
No, you're welcome, buddy.
yeah, I greatly appreciate you being here. We'll get this published and sent out. So if anyone wants to watch it again or share this with someone in their company or organization that maybe wants to tune in or get to know the International Franchise Association better. And again, it's procchio@franchise.org, procchio, ROCCHIO, at franchise.org, and franchise.org, which is the International Franchise Association's website, has tons of information as well on franchising. So we'll make sure to share that. And Paul, thank you again for being here. Thank you to our guests and attendees for being here as well. Have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy it. And we'll be back here same time, same place next week. And we'll be talking about current franchise sales trends in what's happening right now and all the most current data. So we'll have that available for you next week.
Excellent. Tom, thank you so much. Appreciate the opportunity. For everybody who joined us today, thank you very much. And to Tom, again, thank you, buddy. Really, really appreciate you giving me this opportunity, and look forward to seeing you soon, I hope, my friend. Stay well, buddy.
You too. Thank you. Thanks, Paul. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Have a great day.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Yvonne. Thanks, Yvonne. Appreciate it. Take care, guys.